Welcome back to the Male Movement Podcast. This is probably episode 5, but I'm going to stop counting the numbers because we just keep on getting more and more amazing guests. Today we're bringing on a good friend of mine, Mr. Max Powers. I would like to say from my point of view, Max is what I would see visually as the man that we talk about. But over the years, it's been amazing because I've gotten to know the man he is. And he's got so much depth and value and care and kindness that he's really become a man that I admire. So I wanted to bring him on just for that.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So me, my job, hopefully that's not how everybody defines themselves, but my job is a personal trainer, fitness instructor, martial artist, and just a truth seeker, I want to say. But I'm definitely attached to movement. It's where I get most of my pleasure. So as a kid, I played a little bit of soccer, spent most of my sporting years in football. I played all the way to university. After university, I diverted to martial arts, and I started to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I still do, and coach. And I earned my black belt, and the martial arts Jiu-Jitsu journey changed a little bit my perspective about movement. Before it was a lot about, speed, strength, how tough you can be. Although martial art has a tough aspect, it also has an aspect of like being mobile, agile, and saving energy, using your opponent's energy to get the results you're looking for. So, yeah, and through the personal training, my vision started potentially around strength and aesthetics. But as I got older, it was more about true deep health and longevity rather than just how you look or how strong you are. It's more like how well can you live, and be older or have a long life. But I like the difference between lifespan and health span.
Okay.
So lifespan is just how old you are, and then health span is how long you can stay healthy, right? So I'd like to live to my 90s, maybe my 100 years old, but I'd like to be, autonomous and active all the way there, maybe able to touch my toes at 95 or stretch or have a little jog rather than just being old in a nursing home, So
Completely understand that and completely feel that. Just for the fun part, can you say how old you are?
I'm turning 40 in 2 weeks or something.
Say it. I love it. So that's why we talk about lifespan and health span, because I know a lot of men who are in their 40s who cannot do 1/3 of the things you do. Including touch their toes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of measurements and markers we could probably talk about as we go. We'll get into that. I'm a happy 46-year-old. I did the same thing. So when I was starting, I was always about performance. And then I was like, how do I just live well? I want to live and be able, honestly, I want to be able to play. I want to be able to play as long as I can.
I just got a feeling when you said the word play, it's like, although we're talking about manhood or being mature and older, how could you be maybe old in the body but young in the heart, right? So being able to play is a great ingredient in the recipe of health span, like I mentioned before.
And then it leads to a good question. I love that when people lead me on my own journey with you. So if a man is physically old, incapable of playing, do you think that'll affect his mind, make him older or younger?
Definitely. I mean, there's always a yin yang thing where the way the body is going to affect the mind and the way the mind is going to affect the body. But definitely if you have limitation in your body, being older in the body, you don't have that access to the spontaneity, I don't remember where I heard that, but there's a podcast I was listening to a while back, and the guy said something about having young strength. You have old man strength that we kind of all know, the brute force that you can only understand as you get older. You have a different kind of strength. But the young man strength is the ability to maybe do a deadlift without warm up, or just springing into running after the bus and not tearing your hamstring. And that's part of the young man strength or the youthful strength that I was talking about. And if you don't have access to that in the body, you therefore impose limitation on your mind. If you have friends that want to go play pickup basketball and you can't touch your toes, you're like, nah, I'm not going to go. and you're gonna lose a chance for community, laughter, and just the healing of like shooting hoops with the buddies, you know? So yeah.
I love where all this is going, because you're also touching things that are so valid for myself, for men, and everything else, is community and connection.
Yeah.
Like, if I take myself away from a space where I can play and connect, I'm losing a lot. And I find that's where I'm still very lucky, so knock on wood for that. I have the capability to go play and connect as an older man, where most men can't, and they feel very much isolated. So like, I have that opportunity. I go play volleyball with kids in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and that permits me to connect, to not feel alone, and feel really good about it.
Mm-hmm. I fully resonate with that. And with the idea of community and connection and staying young, they have this saying that you're the result of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So yeah, if you spend 90%, 100% of your time with old people that can't touch their toes, you're going to become like them, you know? But if there's a portion of your time, even if it's 10, 20%, it's going play ball with 20-year-olds, you're going to experience that youthfulness through them, and then also kind of by osmosis yourself remember how to stay youthful. And that's kind of a state of mind or a state of being that I strongly believe through the epigenetics and the biology of belief and how the power of the mind, that because you experience youth through your connection, you become youth in the body, like for real.
And that is a big one. I love that. We'll put that in the clip later. So this is, I mean, it's great because the conversation just flowed out on its own, which we're already into a great topic and great things to talk about. So I love this. And also it's when does a man lose his youth?
I think this makes me think about the heart. When the man loses his youth, it's potentially when he thinks he's not allowed to be a kid anymore, or not allowed to keep the openness of the heart that kid or young a boy has, right? You know, when you're like a young kid and you're exploring your environment, you have this awe, this wow, this curiosity of your world, and it comes with an unconscious vulnerability of like, I want to touch everything because I don't know everything yet. And then when we get older and we experience more and we get hurt more and we get burned, that's when we have, a lot of us, the reflex of closing our heart and be like, I don't want to explore anymore. I don't want to experience anymore. I don't want to give a chance, sadly, to experience awe, love, beauty, or whatever that may be, by fear of being burned. And I think the more we have those moments when we metaphorically get burned, you know, by this or that experience, and we reflexively close our hearts, that's when we start to age. And it brings me even further to another quote that I've heard, is like, when we stop learning, when we actively, what was it again? It was something like, when we stop learning, we are actively dying. And that's the thing, is that because we refuse to explore anymore, therefore refuse to learn, we start to close our heart, we start to age, we start to accelerate the process of aging. Because it's like this, there's like a contract, you know, there's an unwritten contract that if you explore something unknown, there's an unknown. There's a chance that whatever you're exploring, you know, just like food, the first time you taste food, there's a chance it's not going to taste good. It doesn't mean that it's not nutritious, you know? And I think that's the thing about closing our heart and being young. You know, kids, they don't mind new experiences. And I think that's what keeps them young.
Very well said, my friend. Very well said. So many, I'm like trying to remember how Mikey said so many good things. So if you were to phrase that, what does it cost a man when he loses his youth or his heart or his self?
What does it cost a man when he loses it? Well, it definitely cost us the opportunity for growth. It costs us the kind of the agility of or adaptability of experiencing new things. It's like the more you experience different situations, the more you're able to adapt to them. So the less you, or the more you close your heart, and the less you experience things, you become that much more unadaptable. And once you kind of know whether that your unadaptableness, you subconsciously become anxious and stressed because you know that, okay, life, the environment is unpredictable, and then you kind of know that I just know this. I know my work, I know my home, I know my few friends, I know maybe my girlfriend, but everything else is that unknown that I've constantly rejected or feared to touch or to experience. And then you walk around me like, I hope nothing new happens today. I hope the unpredictableness of life, which is inevitable, is not going to happen today. And that takes a lot of energy. To control something that's not controllable, it takes a humongous amount of energy. So then you feel tired, you feel drained, you feel overwhelmed, you feel old.
Like I punched that one in. You feel old. And as you say that, it makes me think of exactly the conversations I've had with many men, and I hear tons of stuff, is they just feel stuck. That like life is just this, and I'm not going to be able to get out of it, and I'm just in this rut. Stuck in a rut is something you hear often. Yeah.
If I could share, like, although there's a thing I was saying with my friends the other day. My name is Max, and people call me Max Powers, but Max Powers is not my real name. It's my alias. And I was talking about the speech that I'm going to do later on, and I said something whereas, yes, even Max Powers is vulnerable or is breakable. So I had a moment in my life where I felt stuck in a rut, One of the most memorable moments of feeling stuck in a rut is, like I said, I played football for most of my sportsman career, if we can put it that way. And at CJEP, I had a pretty serious concussion, which left me very confused. And I would say I was very confused into who I was, both like who I was as a football player, but even like so dazed and having my bell rung that it's not that I wasn't sure who I was. I was just, I don't know the science about concussion, but I was just way more angry than usual right after that concussion. And I was just kind of, quote unquote, not myself. So I felt very confused about who I was. And obviously, like I said before, confused about my identity as a football player, because, as a football player, you have to be tough, you have to be durable, you have to be this man's man that's like made out of metal, and that I could bash my head into someone and he's gonna fall, not me. And that there's a moment where I actually didn't fall, I believe, because I'm not sure when I got the concussion. I actually think I did. I had my concussion on a play that I made a critical play. I think I stopped the guy, but I felt the effect of the concussion after the game.
Takes a while.
But still, this image of Superman, Iron Man, right? Let's say my helmet or my head is iron. It was completely shaken because, yes, we won the game. Yes, I made the play. But I was in a fumes, in a cloud for, I almost want to say months, if not years, of like, who am I? I'm not this superhero that society tells all men to be. And yeah, I was shaking. And then later on, not too long ago, around the time that you and I created MALE or founded MALE, I had a relationship, which, like I said, I'm about 40. I want kids. I want a life. I want this community that we call family. And so I had a relationship that was pretty intense emotionally for me, and I finished with a breakup. And I was at the point where I was like, okay, this girl may be that girl, the girl. This girl may be the co-founder of this family that I talked about. And it didn't happen. And I was like, am I worthy? Am I worthy of love? Am I worthy to be a father? Am I worthy to have a family? And about connection and a community that you said is like, if there's one community that is important to most people, is family, you know? And I could see myself projecting myself maybe a little too far, whereas I'm old and I have no kids, no wife to be around me, and I'm just old and I go, fuck, you know? So I was very stuck in a rut in my own head of like, I'm not worthy of a family. I'm not worthy of this. And it transcended this idea of not worthy of a relationship or a family to like, I'm not worthy as a personal trainer. I'm not worthy as a friend. I'm not as cool as Max Powers, whatever that image or that identity is. I'm not worthy of that name anymore. And I was stuck in a rut. Mm-hmm. And this whole lead up is to tell whoever needs it is that the only thing that got me out of the rut is to open my heart and try something different. I was stuck in that rut in my apartment and waking up like, oh, another day, oh, damn. And then doing the same thing. Another day, and then thinking, repeating to myself, I'm not worthy, subconsciously in my mind. Da, 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 da. And then the only thing that got me out of it is like trying something new. Talking to one of our friend and ex-co-founder, Malcolm, God bless him, he gave me an opportunity to find a job at a gym. He's like, I have this client, he's starting a gym, you would be a good fit. And I gave a call to Adam. Shout out to Adam, if ever he sees this, at Circus 16. And I started to get a job at Circus 16, and I started to get out of my rut. I was a little bit fearful of like, okay, I'm Max Powers, the trainer. It's been a while I haven't trained and being in front of people. The anxiety of like, I'm going to teach a class again, like 10, 20 people, and then I'm going to be in the center and people are going to look at me and then my heart will pound. But then I did it anyways. And then that led to another thing and to another thing and to another thing. And then that's a process, man. Like I wasn't stuck in a rut for a very long time, but now I feel better, and there's probably better than better coming up.
Thank you for being so open. That is the beauty of the people I've been really lucky to get on, is the fact that they're just willing to talk and put it out there and break the mold of what it is to be a man. So every time somebody's come on, they've been super happy, and I've been super lucky just to sit there and they open up about something that's super deep. And they show that a man is okay to have some fear.
Yeah.
It's okay to have anxiety. It's okay to be stressed. It's part of life. And you're going to fail God knows how many times. So it's nice to hear it. I'll share something interesting because Max has been a trainer longer than I have. So when I met Max to me was Max Powers. Yeah.
Primal flow.
Yeah. I meet Max. I'm like, oh my God, this is Max Powers. I'm like such a big and everything else. And then I was getting into the training world and I meet him. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, who is this monster of a man? I'm like, he moves like he's like so agile and flexible and everything. And oh my God. And then we did a couple of things together, and then we were just chatting, and I got to see how human he was. And I got to see this creation of my mind was defeating me before I even started. And then you talked to me, and we were like talking about kettlebells and how you're getting your certification. I'm like, oh, I'm doing that too. And I just got to see like how my mind put you in such a far place, and you still have more experience than me, but we were still such in common ground, which was really touching. And it let me just put my guard down. I was like, I'm like, okay, so we're all going through this.
Yeah, man. I really like what you shared there, where the image, whatever image you had of me before, is a lot of the stuff that we think are scary are only scary because we haven't tried them. It's just like, I do martial arts and jiu-jitsu. To a lot of people that come to do jiu-jitsu, I kind of know. I know what it is to be like, okay, I'm gonna go in a gym or a jiu-jitsu studio, and then people are gonna try to rip my head off. Why the hell would I go there? People are gonna try to hurt me, even if it's like a theater in a sense that nobody's actually hurting each other, but we're gonna play fight, and the whole point of this art is to get you in a position where I could break your arm or choke you unconscious. That's the goal. It's not shooting the puck in the net. It's play kill you. You know? So I remember myself as a younger white belt or even blue belt coming out of the metro, walking the last, 5-10 minutes before getting to the gym, and the anxiety, like, going there. And also with that image of Max Powers, the football player that's like big and strong, and I got guys that are like 50 pounds less than me, but 10 years more experience than me, are going to humiliate me and going to be like, yeah, your big muscle ain't worth nada here, bro. Like, you could bench press this, you could deadlift that. I'm going to choke you up, and I'm 50 pounds less than you. And it would, like, traumatize a big word, but it would really shock and get me in a frenzy that, like, why am I going here? But I have to say, if we could translate that into a life experience, I'm sure you know this and you've heard this, but the only workout we regret is the one we don't do.
I can relate to that, and it's the craziest thing, because how many times have you gone to a gym?
In a gym in my life?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't say thousands of times.
How many times have you wanted to go to the gym?
A third or less.
There's even this morning I woke up. We're supposed to go work out. I woke up. I'm like, fuck. But he respected himself. But he's like, no. But it's like, even if I've done it a million times, which I probably have by now, I still have that feeling before I do something that I know is good for me.
Yeah.
So the only difference between me and the person who's only gone to the gym 10 times is I know the after effect. I have proof of, if I do this 100 times, I'm going to feel great after. So I know I'm going to get my not wanting to get to the gym and be like, oh, here we go. This is going to suck it up. Then all of a sudden, halfway through, I feel pretty good. And as soon as I'm done, I give myself a pat in the back. I feel fantastic because I've got myself through that whole range of emotion.
Is that, whether it's health or even happiness, we have to understand a little bit the science of the body. Is that your brain, to some extent, evolved for like the caveman, and like the caveman was living in an environment that's much more dangerous than today. There's like a tiger, maybe. There's like, dangerous plants that you might slip and get cut, and then the plant, whatever, get into your bloodstream, whatever. So there's a lot of dangers, a lot of threats outside. Back then, not anymore. But our brain is essentially the same structure. So everything that is new to the common man is the danger that the caveman would see as like, this might be a tiger moving behind the bushes, or this might be a dangerous plant that I think it's like a red fruit that I want to eat, but it might just kill me. So we had this thing wired that everything we don't know has the potential to kill us. Every workout that we know is going to be hard, therefore we don't know that workout, might kill me. Although it's not true, because it's in a controlled environment. But that's the biological structure of our brain, is that your brain fears newness or novelty in a sense, and it's just a protective mechanism of the brain. It's like your ego, whatever we call our ego, is not there to make you thrive. It's there to make you survive. And once you get that it's still a good thing. I don't like some of those spiritual people that say, kill the ego. Manage the ego. Because the ego helps you go about life. But then if you let that little voice that we call the ego become overbearing, you'll never do new experiences, and then you'll never become adaptable, which is the reason why humans kind of rule the earth, is our ability to be adaptable and so on. So try new stuff and give yourself permission to fail.
And fail a lot.
Yeah.
I'll say one thing about the ego. You cannot get rid or kill the ego. It's who you are, and it's who you've been, and it's going to be a part of your psyche. You can learn to understand your ego and then use it wisely, I've gotten to know my ego, and I'm like having fun. I'm like, oh. And a lot of people think ego is a bad thing. Ego is also playing the nice guy, playing small, playing all those things. It's not just this big angry person that we see wearing all these nice clothes and all that. For men and for me, because I'm talking about this for myself too, my ego was making me play small. I was a small ego, tiny little guy, and he didn't want to come out of his shell, and he wanted to stay there, and he wanted to do exactly what we were saying. He wanted to play safe. And that was my understanding of myself. And now I know that version of myself.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, oh, my ego likes shrinking. So I'm like, okay, that means I need to push, 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 push. As for somebody, the ego might be big and need to shrink it a little bit. We all have different things we need to learn. But your ego is who you are and lessons you've learned that have created a thought process.
Yeah, fully agree. And to me, that all culminates to the notion of self-awareness. Right? Self-awareness is whether the ego or other parts of the psyche, that's where you are able to really harness your power, is understand your thinking process or your being process, and why do I have this or that reflex, kind of understand, which is a hard task to do with no guidance, but understand what's your true essence, and then also understand your conditioning. And then once you're able to balance the two, you can really steer this boat that we call life, in more effectively. And yeah, like you said it just before you took the mic a second ago. It's like, give yourself permission to fail a lot, because if you don't, you by default you stay in that rut. But if you take a few steps, left, right, up, down, wherever, you learn, and to understand that taking that left turn isn't the right turn, you most of the time need to take it. If you stay there, or you only take the right step on the right side, you'll never experience the potential glory of that left step. And I love Carl Jung, and he has this quote, paraphrasing here, where he says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.
I will take that for sure. And it's funny, it's like growth makes you happy. Like the willingness to grow is what gives me joy in my life. When I find myself in a rut, I feel like I have no life. I feel like everything's being sucked out of me. And then as soon as I get that, the cave we're in right now, as I was talking with somebody else about this, is our apartments, our homes. Our homes are our caves. Yeah. And we are just locking ourselves in there. And as soon as we fear anything, this is safety. Come in, go to Netflix, go to TV, go to all the comfort we've created. And the growth is outside of our home. We need to go expand. We need to go try things. And whenever I found myself being sad and depressed, what do? Come home, lock myself in, don't talk to anybody else. Now I'm really like, if I feel terrible, I need to step out. I need to step into something new. And then I feel, even if I've failed so many times, I feel like I'm growing.
Mm-hmm. You make me think of something super deep because I never really saw it that way, that our apartment is our cave. And there's something secure about the cave. But if we use the image of the cave, there's also something very dark about the cave, like metaphorically. And then that's where it brings me something deep. Like, a lot of people know that I'm into fitness, but I'm also very interested in like philosophy. And I remember my first class of philosophy in Cégep or college and stuff. And the teacher talked to us about the allegory of the cave. Plato's allegory of the cave. And the allegory of the cave is the image where there's like cavemans, again, to come back to the caveman, they're inside the cave. And now there's a fire inside. So there's a little bit of light in that dark cave. But there's also sometimes with that fire, which is to me a symbol of technology, sometimes people playing with like puppets and they create shadows on the wall or the TV. And then some of those puppet masters are so crafty that we begin to think that reality is the projected image by the fire or with the help of the fire on the cage, on the wall of the cave. But then you have one rebellious caveman that decides to crawl out of the cave and then experience the beauty of nature and the actual sunlight versus the projected sunlight of the fire or the TV or your smartphone and the projected reality that's in the TV or your smartphone. So then you have a choice. Do you sit in front of the fire, the TV, the smartphone, or do you crawl out of the cave, you take a chance, and you get the potential blissful experience of nature, life, and the awe that comes with it. And like, I've been into fitness, I've grown into more of a longevity approach to fitness, and like nature is my guide through that. I'm not discarding the advancements of modern technology, but nature. Like, there's nothing much more powerful than fresh air, sunlight, clean water, and like a walk in the park. Yes, you could do the CrossFit workout. Yes, you could do the MMA tournament. But it's not only about lifting the heaviest weight. It's about connecting to your true essence. Like, it's not like we are experienced nature. We are part of it. You know, we're animals to some extent, maybe a little bit more evolved, but we need the sunlight to grow our food, you know, and we need the fresh air to breathe and sustain life. So sometimes it's like we have to get away from all these fit apps and stuff like that and just go outside.
Well said, and I will go back and listen to that whole section at least 2 more times. I was like, ooh, okay, let me go. I'm like, this is a good one.
The cave, I was like...
And I was like, it's such a good metaphor to look at things. And like I said, that one person who goes outside, I think that's the person that gets the most benefits of life.
But it's also taking the risk. Is like, you know, life, community connection is probably the most potent medicine for health. But sometimes, because just like you, I believe that growth is what gives value to my life in a sense. Sometimes the only way to grow is to change friend group. It's to be that guy that's decide to go out the cave rather than to stay inside the cave.
So I agree with that 1,000,000%. I always share this again. For those of you who don't know, I sold drugs for like 12 years. I got arrested, been in and out of jail. And I didn't know better because my surroundings were that. I grew up with a family that were alcoholics, drug addicted, drug dealing. So this was my only thing.
Your little cave.
My cave. That was in my tribe. Again, my tribe was that. So my only knowledge of the world was violent, aggressive, abusive, all these things. And it was only until I decided to leave and find my way that I started seeing and meeting all these amazing people. And it's hard for me to say, too, my first thoughts and views of men were terrifying. My dad was abusive to my mom, alcoholic, my stepdad the same, and all the people that I had in my life as guidelines of guides that were supposed to show me how to be a good man in this world were not showing me how to be a good man at all. And it wasn't until I left, and I don't talk to my family anymore. I don't talk to anybody. I have my mom, and I love her to death, but besides that, it was my choice to just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Then I met good people.
I mean, and I just want to not metaphorically, but use the poetic image of you got out of the cave and you experienced the light, the sunlight, you know, because you stepped out of the cave. And if I may, this is male, this is a little bit focused on masculinity, and you shared your relationship with your dad and stuff like that. And I want to jump into that as well, is that my story with my dad is that my dad is absent. I never really had a consistent relationship with him. I also happy that although I've met him, I wasn't, because I know some people that have not necessarily an absent dad, but like a discontinued relationship or an on and off relationship with their dad. Me, it was more of like an off and very, 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 very rarely on relationship. I've spent a week with him continuously. And then apart from that, maybe 5 encounters. So I have essentially an absent dad, and whether it's my relationship with my dad and therefore my image of manhood, whether it's that or any other bad situation in my life, quick come back to when I felt stuck in a rut. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I decided to see me feeling stuck in a rut and every bad situation, therefore, in my life, as growth opportunities, rather than like, oh, poor me, why is this happening again? It's like, oh, this hurts my heart, my body, my mind. It's a chance to grow from this. And to finish the point about fatherhood is that I feel somewhat, not fully, somewhat grateful that I have an absent dad, father, because essentially my image of masculinity it's just a cloud. It's just like very vague compared to some people, maybe like you, where like your image of fatherhood was quote unquote not ideal. So therefore, to experience or to create your own definition of man, you have to deconstruct that one. You have to be like, this is bad, and it's potentially like a reflex or a construct in your mind that every time you come back to what to identify or your definition of manhood is like, dad. Oh no, I have to deconstruct whatever dad was to potentially get a better idea or vision of it. And I feel grateful that me is just like, when I think about manhood, it's just what I choose it to be. I don't have much to deconstruct because he's never there. I've had masculine mentor here and there, but I feel that our relationship with our mom or our dad or our direct parent, caregivers, gives us the baseline for what's masculine and feminine. And growth opportunities.
That's it. Whatever you grew up with is like your home base.
Yeah.
It's like, this is, and you're going to end up always going back to that thought first. And for me, I did have that. I was kind of lucky in a way because my dad decided to not be there and then he passed away. That part wasn't so lucky, but my parents separated at a young age. I feel like if my dad would have stayed, I probably would have gone even deeper into that because that was his life. So I had an opportunity to recreate and get space from that and then just decide I basically now am making my own family with my friends and people around me. And in there was something that I was going to ask, which is a really good question right about now. I was like, this is a good spot to drop a good question. What is your idea, your version of being a healthy man this day and age?
It's funny, I had a moment, I want to say like last summer, I think 2 summers ago, where don't really remember the context, but I had an inspiration and intuition about with MALE doing some sort of a course, some sort of a program to help men become more comfortable with their manhood. And 3 words came into my mind. They're still in my mind. I haven't really expanded too much on it, but it's brewing somewhere. So I think masculinity, kudos to my man Anthony. We were talking about that. I wanted to create a course where there was like 3 parts. And those 3 parts would be like essential parts of what it is to be a man. So word 1 is honor. I'm going to come back to that. Word 2 is austerity. And the last word is resilience. So it's like honor equates a little bit to the mind. Do what you say. Do what you say to yourself. Do what you say to others as well. Like, if I'm going to wake up tomorrow and do the workout, do the workout, At least, because honestly, to come back to what we had, like when I went to bed, I was like, I'm not going to do the workout because I was tired and I don't think it was the right moment. I'm going to go to jiu-jitsu later on, so I'm going to get my physical activity, which I think everybody should do every day. But be accountable to your word, to yourself first. If you say you're going to do this diet, if you say you're going to do this workout, if you say you're going to take your girlfriend to dinner, take her to dinner, Be honorable. And also be honorable in sense like the values you uphold make sure that they fit with your heart, not with what society tells you or what your mind thinks it's the best thing to do. When you say, this is going to be a value of mine, take a deep breath and connect to here. And is it true here? Not is it true there? Or is it through here? Is it true in your center, you know? So be honorable. And in austerity, I'm not sure if that's the correct definition, but austerity to me is like be daring, be deliberate, be emotionally daring, you know? Instead of playing small, play big, play too big, you know? Because I think it's Les Brown, a guy that I like to listen to here and there, a motivational speaker. He says one of the worst things you could do is aim low and then reach. So you aim a little goal and then you reach it, and now what? Fini? It's done. It's like boring. No, aim too high and never reach it, but keep striving. You know. So austerity, be daring, be like severe in the best way with yourself to experience the wide range of emotion that's available in this world. And then resilience. So we have mind, heart, and then body. Resilience is be in the body. As a man, we have a little advantage over women where our bodies are a little, most of the time, stronger, you know? And the only way to, I think, have access to the depth of your heart and the power of your mind is to build your body a minimum. I don't think it's different for women, but as a man, I think it's very important to do a few push-ups, to run a few miles, to breathe heavy from time to time, because you're exerting that beautiful piece of biochemistry that God, source, whoever has gave you, and respect it, you know, eat well, sleep enough, and move, and become resilient. So that if I could lastly jump into the jiu-jitsu thing, when you do jiu-jitsu or boxing, when you learn how to fight, subconsciously, when you're having a mental discussion with someone and you have a boundaries that you don't want to be stepped on, or you have something to say, although we're civilized human, because I know how to fight, there's a little voice in my mind that says, I could say what I need to say now because I'm safe. I have my martial art, I have my jiu-jitsu, I have my boxing. Although I'll never punch somebody for no reason because we're talking, subconsciously, my being is like, I'm strong in my body. I could be strong with my word and my mind. So honor, austerity, and resilience. Be a man.
Love that. And it's good. I like the way you started that with honor. It was honor yourself. And the amount of times I can tell from myself or from people I talk to or whatever I've trained, it's what's it called? Bargaining.
Oh.
So the amount of bargaining we do in our brains, I'm going to not eat the chips. I eat the chips. I'm going to wake up at 5:30. I wake up at 7:30. I'm going to go to the gym. I don't go to the gym. Those all, if you look at a scale of your confidence, every time you bargain and you're feeding, they say, like, you feed which wolf are you feeding? That whole expression. So now I'm feeding the bad wolf. I'm feeding the one that's not going to give me confidence, not going to let me grow, not let me feel strong. I'm feeding all this, and I'm going to end up stuck in that rut even more because I'm telling myself 100 lies a day. I love that. Ugh. And if you're telling yourself 100 lies a day, you're not going to want to do anything good with yourself. So you really need to realize how many promises am I making to myself a day and how many am I keeping? And then cut the fat. Stop making so many.
Yeah. Simple solution.
Stop making so many. Make 2. Yeah. Stick with 2 for a while.
Yeah.
Add a 3rd if you want to. Add a 4th. But don't say I'm going to do 50 million things in a day. Say I'm going to do one thing and do it well. Then maybe I'll add 2, then 3.
Yeah.
But a lot of people make themselves a list of things. Like you ask people to go change their life. They're going to give you 50 things to do. They're not going to do any. So that's one. And I like also, I'm just going to say this because I find this important too. A lot of people, when we try something, we say we tried it, but we didn't follow through. We tried it for a day. We tried it for 2 days. Did we try it for the time it needs to have an impact in my life so I know the result? You're not going to do a test study with clinical stuff and be like, okay, I'm just going to drop 1% of what I need. No. I need data. I need information. I need all these things. So if you say you're going to wake up every day at 5:30, do it for a month. then see how you feel. If you do it for a day, you really can't give yourself data. You've not gotten your body used to this, your mind used to this. So you need the time to transition. So I love how you said that, like really, and man, woman, but really as a man, when you start being good with your word to yourself, your confidence will lift, you will feel better, and you'll get yourself out of that rut pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. This makes me think of three different things. The first thing, to come back with like your rise of confidence. Obviously, a lot of men who feel lost, a lot of times they feel so lost that they don't feel confident enough to maybe attract a girlfriend and stuff like that. And the best thing you can do, I think, to attract a girlfriend is work on yourself. And the second thing I wanted to talk about, we talked a bit about community and connection, but the best way to create community, connection, and build confidence is to work on the relationship of self. And just like you said, like I probably couldn't have said it better, those promises that you make to yourself with cutting the fat, so not being too bold, especially if you're not in the habit of respecting your own word. Start small, start, dream big, project big, but start small. I'm just going to wake up at that time. And that's the first thing. That's it. No workout, no carnivore diet or whatever you like. Just wake up at that time. And then even if you have so much time, like sit down, reflect, go take a walk, just be. And give yourself a permission to be like, oh, I woke up at the time I said I would.
And celebrate that motherfucker. As you put your hands up, I like that. You got the things we skip over so many times. We're like, I woke up, but then your brain says, I'm feeling tired. I don't feel good about myself. No, you fucking got up at 5:30.
Yeah, most people don't.
You know what I like for stuff like that? Is putting little checks. I put little checks somewhere, that little visual, and this is my thing. I call it celebrate.
Yeah.
So I like to celebrate my small wins and take a little bit more breaks. So like I'll go have a coffee. It's not a coffee anymore. If I've done after this podcast, I'm going to have a coffee. And in my mind, I'm celebrating the fact that I just recorded a great podcast. And I'm using that as something, energy. Or I sometimes book a yoga class. And I'm like, this is what I get for having a great week of work. It doesn't have to be this big thing, but every step needs some kind of celebration. And ask your friends to celebrate with you.
Just like share your wins.
Share your wins with everybody. It's so important. And your friends, when you have a good circle, are so happy to share your wins with you.
I think that's where you have good friends, where they get happy for you to celebrate something that they had nothing to do with. That's when you have a good friend.
And they heard, like, everybody started this podcast has been 8 months of me talking about this. And now I'm finally doing it, like, yeah, great. And they've been there the whole time watching me, like, pull my hairs out, get angry, freak out. And now they're like, amazing, when's the next one? And I can't wait to listen to it. Like, they want to be they're part of my journey.
Yeah.
They're part of my wins and my losses. But they keep becoming wins because I don't give up yet.
Yeah. Consistency is a big, as I say, consistency is the third thing I wanted to share is like the habits, right? So the important, because ultimately what I said before, honor, austerity, and resilience was my old project, potentially going to be revised with this, of building a mindset course or a habit course, where giving tools and tips for people to create habits to just, continue on the self-development track. And again, to come back to the cut the fat thing, I'm pretty sure you remember the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, and we talked about it with Mark Angelo a few times, and I think he knows him, but whatever, doesn't matter. And then I read that book, and there's part of the book where there's a guy who wants to lose weight, and the first step is just put your shoes just by the door for a week. So then the next week, put on your shoes and go for a walk, 5 minutes. And then the next week, go for a jog. And then the next week, then so on and so on. I'm not sure if I'm getting the right example, but I remember there's another one, although it might be the same example, but a guy that eventually I think lost 100 pounds, the beginning of the challenge was to cut the fat deep, 100 pounds of fat. He just had to go to the gym for 5 minutes. That's it. After 5 minutes, get out. And just create the habit of being in the gym for 5 minutes, and then the guy left.
And there's so many good things in there. It's those small things. So, I don't know. I'm sure everybody's talked about morning routines. I don't know if you saw the trend for a while where everybody had to do like 2 hours of stuff. Like you had to wake up, you had to drink your water, you had to have this special mushroom mix, which I do like, so I have my own, which is fine. Then you had to meditate for 20 minutes. Then you had to do journaling for 20 minutes. Then you had to move for 20 minutes. Then you had to get some sunlight on your testicles for 20 minutes. And I would see people stressed out about it. It's got to be simple and fun to you. My morning routine is now super basic. I wake up, I have a glass of water, I read a book, and I have my little mushroom blend. I feel good about that.
Yeah.
I don't need to go crazy. I do add my meditation in on the days I have 3 days, mornings where I have time. But if I tried to fit that all in, I'd be up at 4 a.m. and not happy with myself.
Mm-hmm.
So keep it simple.
Yeah, the habits, right? And then once the original, I guess, I don't remember what was your 3 thing, but coffee, mushroom, whatever, and then whatever else in the routine. Sometimes at a certain point it becomes so automatic that it doesn't need to be part of the routine anymore. It just is. It's like you don't think about brushing your teeth in the morning. At least I hope so. So then it's easy to stack more stuff on top of the brushing the teeth because brushing the teeth is already the habit, right? So, and I think that's how you build, it's a little intense, but a high performance life, right? Or a productive life, or forget the high performance life, just a happy life.
A life you want.
A life you want.
Goddamn, build a life you want. And that's the thing. We listen to everybody else's things and we're doing what they say, but that's not what I want. I know what I want now. When you say like the first question, honor yourself, that is my guideline is here. I know now, and this has taken me years to figure out, it's like, this is what I want. And if I'm off, I feel nervous, I feel anxious, I feel stressed, I feel depressed because I'm following a path that isn't mine. And we all sit there and we pick up the book and we try to follow the book for a year. Was that the whole, maybe not the whole book was for you. There's 2 or 3 pieces that were important to you.
I like that. It's again, it's the cutting the fact part. It's like whatever goals people set sometimes is like, oh, if I can't do everything, then I don't do anything.
And that's what usually happens because I'm trying to do everything, so I do nothing.
Yeah. Just do a few that, in business, they have the minimum viable product.
Yeah, MVP.
I think there should be like an MVP for self-growth as well. It's like, do the minimum viable product. And at first, the MVP is either put your shoes close to the door, wake up at a half an hour earlier, or just
5 minutes earlier.
5 minutes earlier, and just do that. Just start with that. And then celebrate that.
That is, again, we don't celebrate anything, I feel. Sometimes we're just living life instead of, isn't life supposed to be celebrated?
It's crazy, bro. Even sometimes big things, people get the promotion, the wife, the kids, and they just move on to the next goal. And they don't take a second to be proud of something. And that's why you feel empty. You have the house, you have the car, you have the this, you have the that, but you never spent a second congratulating yourself. So although you have them, you don't feel you deserve them because you never took a second to slow down and be like, yo, look what you did, bro.
Slow down. Slow down. That's when you talk about nature, that's the other part. Like life is fast. We need to slow down. Coming up to an end of an hour. That was really fast.
I love quotes. I want to say quotes.
Go for it.
There's this quote about Lao Tzu. Like I do a bunch of stuff. I love Tai Chi. I do Tai Chi as well. And Lao Tzu is the guy that wrote the Tao Te Ching, which is the central book for Taoism, which is where Tai Chi spawned from. And he says something along the lines, be more like nature. Nature never hurries, but everything is accomplished.
Hey. I knew I brought you on here for a reason. Besides just being... So, again, I love open conversations. We had a bit of a guideline, but it was just a good free flow, and there's a lot of great information that just came naturally. So it's a good thing. I'm going to see if I can ask you 3 questions.
I have one thing I want to say, unless you want to finish like that.
Go for it.
So I have a challenge for whoever is listening. I want you to challenge me to either build that mindset course. If you're a man and you would like our help, because I could put it like as a male thing.
Yeah.
To challenge me to do the habit course, the mindset course on honor, austerity, and resilience. And yeah, so interact with the page and stuff. And we talked about heart-centered. I have another project. Shout out to George. George, the big bear.
Yeah.
A good big Care Bear. I call it a Care Bear sometimes. So me and George, for the longest time, have been doing training and doing MALE together. And we had this idea of doing the heart-centered warrior thing. So that's more of an in-person iteration of challenge me to put this into manifestation, where we could do like a circle. I have a space. I have George, who's a great networker. I have me, who has ideas, and just be there. Say, I'll be present if you do a circle, and just put your big boy pants on and subscribe to your spot when we make it available. So heart-centered warrior circles or activation, and then mindset course. I challenge you to challenge me.
So put an exact date on it. Those are the things. So if you're going to message him, be like, I want this done by November of 15th.
Ready for it.
And those are the things that'll make you a little bit more faster when you come to growing things. All right. Short answers. Even a word if it comes up. What do more men need in their life?
I have one word, but I'm going to use two, or a hyphenated word. Open heart.
Mm-hmm. What do men need less of in their life?
Less of. Hubris.
Explain.
Arrogance.
I like that.
The hubris of man. As a society, me that gave that quote on nature, I think one of the problems of the world is the hubris of man. The hubris that we could be greater than Mother Earth. I'm going to invent a gadget that's going to do better than the sunlight, the fresh waters, the trees, the bees, the birds, and the trees. Nah, my friend. I don't think so.
I love that. What do you want to offer more of to men?
I'm going to use many different words, but they mean the same. Motivation, confidence, guidance, self-assurance, self-love, peace of mind, strength. More. I want to give more. That if it's one word, what do I want to give?
More of to men? More. We hit lots of good spots on this one. Last little thing, if people want to find you in Montreal, where can they reach you? How do they find you?
So many things. First, I guess the easiest way to reach me is on my Instagram page, Max5Powers. And then if you want to connect to holistic fitness, wellness, and live long and have that youthful health strength, like I mentioned earlier, connect with my community, Sapien Evolution Temple. We actually have a beautiful workshop coming up this Saturday. I don't know if this is going to be out, but I'm going to do my best to get a short clip out before Saturday. We have this workshop talking about total awareness immersion to give us most of the tips that I've learned around fitness, wellness through my career or life journey. If you want to do jiu-jitsu, my school is Gracie Barra, Montreal. I teach noon classes Tuesday and Thursday. And I also have a mindset course. It's more geared towards fitness and wellness. So you go on my page, you go on my link tree, and it's Holistic Fitness Powers. Subscribe to that. The idea is that you take the course. There's a few tests, self-assessment in it. And then you just reach out to me for 1 or maybe 3 Zoom call. And then we dive deeper in what's going to be your MVP. Your most valuable,
minimal viable
products or actions that you can do to upgrade your holistic wellness.
Love all that. I'm going to probably go catch one of his classes. You do them on Sundays too?
Yeah, this weekend, because we have the Saturday thing, Sunday's off.
Okay.
But every Sunday until this temperature permits, we're outside. Forgot, that's a good thing. We call the Sunday Bash. Most of them were free. They're probably going to be paid coming up because we did a promotion during the summer, but it is the end of summer. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to be that expensive, maybe like some $20 or something like that, along the lines of that. And then beautiful community. A lot of times we offer like some drinks or some fruits and mostly lots of fun and community.
And the gym name?
Gym name, Sapien Evolution Temple. For those that are in Montreal, it's in Griffintown on Richmond. There's a big church. We have a space inside the church. And that's also where we're going to do the Heart Center Warrior program for those that are ready.
It sounds like a holy space to me.
Holy, man.
Thank you for being you. It was a real pleasure to talk to you, and it's been a real pleasure getting to know you over these last couple of years. Like I said, the image of you, it does not actually touch the person you are. So the image I saw of Max Powers on Instagram is broken into 100 pieces of gold, and I love you very, very much.
Amen, bro. Much love. Just received, but also sent back.
Thank you for the podcast. Thank you for listening. I will post a bunch more, and we're going to keep going and seeing where this goes to.
Thank you, bro. Amen.
Lots of love.
Nice.